mouse, okay? So strategic framework is what I want you to remember. And LDN relates to SDG 15.3.1. So proportion of degraded land over an area, okay? It's important to remember that LDN, land degradation neutrality, is almost essentially 15.3.1, even though others may disagree, but to my interpretation, I'm like, pretty close, okay? I'm going to focus on trends in carbon stocks above and below ground because you are soil people, so I will focus on the soil element. And I would like to say that, you know, 129 countries have committed for land degradation neutrality targets, which is extremely impressive, okay? Now, quick overview, Brian showed this as well. It is a combination, land productivity dynamics over time, land cover and land cover changes over time, and soil organic carbon. There is no above ground carbon biomass at the moment being included, but there is obviously a desire and a hope for it to be born in the future. These are all combined on a per pixel basis with a one out, all out principle. If one of these indicators is decreasing, it's degrading, okay? Now, I think that it would be very good of all of you from your respective European developed countries to, if you do not already know about this initiative, to go in and visit the website, visit the different targets that countries have set, look at what they are doing, because it is something that is taken quite seriously in my impression of working with all these different countries as well. So there is actually also a list of countries that have set targets, and I would like to highlight that Italy, I am very impressed with you as a country. You've really shown a huge amount of leadership in this area. And I have to say that developed countries, where are you? Most of you are missing. You haven't even really set a target. The default data shows, and I have seen it for everywhere, it shows that degradation is not a developing world issue. It's a world issue. Just because your country has a higher GDP, it does not mean you are immune to degradation of your land. Okay, the top 3 countries for degradation from the default data 3 of the top 6 countries are developed and the other 3 are developing. So please take this more seriously. Okay, that's from me speaking, not anybody else. So yay, Italy is the main message. All right, so LDN monitoring at a project level is something that I'm going to bring in here because it really helps me introduce, or at least what I can see to be some of the main compatibility issues that may be encountered in Europe. So this is a methodology for how you monitor essentially land degradation neutrality. This is for a specific fund that was generated for LDN. It was for a first fund in this area to support projects on the ground that met LDN initiatives, right? So the way that this system is set up currently, and it's currently under review for being improved. So if you have opinions, please come to me and let me know. You don't have to be kind. I like issues and problems. So the first thing is that obviously you need to determine what LDN response type your project is, right? To determine what you need to measure and monitor. And often soil organic carbon monitoring can be substituted for land cover or land productivity and or production statistics if the science basically can confidently assume that carbon will be stable or increase. Okay, so if you don't have a project that is using techniques that are scientifically known and substantiated, then it's a project responsibility to essentially prove from the scientific literature the status of their action. So this is a condensed version of very big flowcharts. And what I want you to know is that on the left side, LDN response action. Okay, this is the avoid degradation. This one is reduce degradation. And then there's another slide with reverse. See, it's the next one. Okay. And then we have on the far on the right side, the minimum primary indicator for soil organic carbon. So for avoiding degradation, all of these actions, runoff management, community land use planning, land reform, vegetation strip cover, you don't need to monitor carbon for these. However, anything to do with reduction of degradation, generally you need to monitor soil organic carbon. And if you have a look at the intervention type, it's land use policy and agronomic. So I would say most people in this audience will be in reduction of degradation, which means soil organic carbon does need to be followed. Okay, that one I mentioned. So there's these flow charts for the projects that are given going, do you actually need to monitor carbon? Is it unique? Are your interventions unique, or are they known and you can safely assume carbon will go up? Okay. The reason that I'm going through this is because what I've noticed between at an international country level and at a project level is that there is still some detail to be worked out that is relevant also at a European level. How do you determine what is degraded, right? So here, outcomes. In this approach comes from the good practice guidance for 15.3.1. And in this approach, essentially a 10% reduction in soil organic carbon is considered a degradation, an increase and improvement. So if anyone, this is an arbitrary number, okay? In absence of better numbers, it is an arbitrary number. This will need to be refined, right? Then the question becomes, is it refined at a European level, at a country level, at a project level, at a pixel level? I don't know. So what is a sufficient change in soil organic carbon to determine degradation, stability, or increase? Seems like a fundamental question, but I think it's really hard because actually, to me, degradation, stability, or increase, these are value judgments. Okay, so the answer I would give for these, it's probably some combination of time, likely change, and our ability to detect it. And in addition, I'd really make a plug for site-specific thresholds, because this prior 10% reduction leading to degradation, if you run out the numbers, it's both easy, basically most of the time, your carbon will be stable, even if it's gradually degrading. And so after 10, 15, 20 years, you find out, oh, actually it's degraded, okay? So my next question, how to combine selected soil indicators at a European or at a country level or at a project level, how to combine them into this degradation, stability, and increase. Are these indicators going to be equal in all places? I really hope not, but maybe they are. I don't know. This is not really up to me. And is it going to, are they going to be combined with a one out, all out rule? Are they equal? Are they all as important in all places? And then the third one that I would like to bring to your attention is this compatibility issue, is how do you bring together expert interpretation of the information that does come out to understand why? Why is something changing in the place that it is? Because that is a really essential piece of information for the judgment of status, okay? Degraded, stable, or increasing. And how do you do that process in a sustainable manner? So it's not just a big meeting and a nice big document, all right, it's set now. No, we need to find a way to bring in both experts, advisors, and real world problems on the ground. This will need to be a living system. This has been thought about, this problem specifically, quite a lot also at the international level. So the idea is that you need to bring in meaningful national, subnational data sets and knowledge, participatory approaches to validate what comes out of these big assessments, degraded, not degraded, okay? The example given here for soil organic carbon points to, you could have an increase in soil organic carbon, but it's not desirable, right? It's an undesirable state because it's a consequence of, say, weed invasion or woody encroachment. Okay, so your carbon goes up, but actually it's because of something that you don't want. And you know, in the opposite direction, it can decrease, for instance, but it's a result of something that you do want. So, for instance, removing or reducing irrigation in dryland areas. Okay, so this is what I mean by having essentially an active expert interpretation. I personally don't believe there is one number to rule them all that will ever be reached, but I know that others in the community do work very hard towards unifying numbers. And, you know, a diversity of solutions is a good thing at this point in time. So a quick plug, we did, I am also here representing a large commission project for soil. It was for this call for soil 02, 2102. So AI for soil health. We are 28 partners across Europe, 12 countries, and more than 98 people, actually. We're about 110 currently, and we'll be working on these topics for the next 4 years, or more maybe. So there's actually 2 projects that got funded under this line here. And I have to say, it's so also benchmarks as well. It's really nice to see how much funding is going into soils and environment and agriculture. Personally, wonderful. I'm very happy everyone is doing, like, getting into it now. Quickly on AI for soil health, because conscious of time. Essentially, the main items we're trying to do: coherent soil health index methodology, including thresholds, which is very ambitious, but anyway, I'm hoping the thresholds will be allowed to vary depending where they are, but we'll see. So rapid soil health assessment toolbox, of course, a data cube for Europe, so like a living digital twin for soil, a degradation monitor, and an easy way for people to interact with the system. It's not supposed to be closed box, it's supposed to be a two-way street. We want to know where the problems are. We want to know where it doesn't work. Okay. Preliminary results, playing around with the Lucas data set, mapping in space-time, looking at what's coming, going, okay, interesting. We can extend and work with this as we go along. It is extending upon some other work. So this is the Eco Data Cube for Europe, bringing together as many open data sets as both we make and others make into one place. So fully open, reproducible research with no restriction. Yes, I mentioned this. Is one soil health index possible? Again, I don't know. I don't know whether one is possible or not. I would love to see a future where people are engaged enough in their areas that they are responsible for setting their own, using the index structure, but then setting their own judgment. Is this degraded? Is it stable? Is it improving? I know that leaves it open to abuse, but it also gives a wonderful opportunity for engagement. Okay, and then this is too much text, you shouldn't read it, but essentially on the right, what I want you to see is what we are promising to do is essentially to bring as much data and information and layers together as we can, to create some good, what we consider to be good cloud storage solutions for data sharing, because I noted earlier there's a lot of nervousness about sharing geographical locations, etc. There are solutions for this, okay, and there are licensed constructions that allow people to share points without having them lose control of their data set, right? So very restricted data sharing agreements, and they can also be made technologically in a way that the data and information cannot be used for anything else. Okay, so that's something we're trying to sort out. And then a nice big long list of also experimental ones, eDNA, enzyme analysis, things that we don't know whether it's going to work or not, but we're working on it. Okay, and then more straightforward things, 3D mapping of soil through space and time. Okay, I need to put a plug on the end, GeoLDN flagship. If you are serious about getting involved in LDN, please reach out to the GeoLDN flagship group. There are a lot of countries and professionals around the world working very seriously on these topics. Really, like, join them. The entire mission is essentially to bring best geospatial data and methods to every country across the globe. Very ambitious, so we could use your help. Okay, you can follow the link here, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,